This is On Call with the Doctor, brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Social Services in Montserrat. Tune in and follow us on Facebook at Health Promotion 664 for more. Don't forget to share with friends and family. On Call with the Doctor, helping us to take charge of our health and wellness.
Hello, I am Penny Maloney and this is On Call with the Doctor. Today we are talking about hypertension with Dr. Tiffany Skerritt, Medical Officer within the Ministry of Health and Social Services. Welcome, Dr. Skerritt.
Thank you, Penny. It's a pleasure to be here.
And it's so nice to have you. Now, the Caribbean Public Health Agency has said that hypertension is the #1 risk factor for illness and premature death from cardiovascular disease. It is also one of the most common non-communicable diseases in the Caribbean region. So evidently, hypertension is nothing to be taken lightly. Dr. Skerritt, for those who may be unfamiliar with the term hypertension, can you share with us what it means?
Sure. So hypertension, the term basically means elevated blood pressure. And when we speak of the blood pressure, we're basically speaking of the force of the blood against the vessels in the body. If you think of the vessels in the body, it's like the inner plumbing that we have, the heart being the pump, and the arteries and veins being the vessels that carry the blood all around the body.
Okay, so hypertension then is when that force is coming out too heavy, higher.
So by definition, hypertension will be blood pressure that is greater than 140 systolic, which is the top number if you look at the fraction, and higher than 90, which is the bottom number of the fraction, which is diastolic pressure.
Okay, and later on in the program, we'll show you exactly what those numbers look like. I want to talk about developing hypertension. I know that there are a whole host of risk factors, but can you give us a little bit of information on how persons develop hypertension?
Sure. So majority of hypertension is classed as essential, which means we don't really know what causes it. And when I say majority, we're talking about over 90% of all hypertensives have essential hypertension. The smaller group or the smaller number of persons have what we call secondary hypertension, which means there is a cause that we can find that is causing the blood pressure to be elevated. Usually when we speak of secondary hypertension, we're speaking about hypertension that is being caused by some type of kidney disease or thyroid disease or adrenal disease, certain organs in the body that are responsible for producing important hormones that regulate blood pressure.
Okay, so can you tell us now about risk factors? I know there are some modifiable risk factors, which are things that we can change.
Correct.
That will help us not to develop hypertension. So can you share those with us?
Yes. So when you find out that your blood pressure might be a bit elevated, or that you have been diagnosed with hypertension, what you can do to reduce your risk. We encourage you to increase your level of exercise, your level of physical activity. We encourage you to decrease smoking and decrease your alcohol consumption, because we know that from research that these are factors that help to increase blood pressure. And we also encourage you to make modifications in terms of your diet. If you're someone who usually cooks with a lot of salt, or you consume a diet that is higher in fats, we encourage you to reduce those things.
Yes, and that's good information to know, things that we can do to decrease our risk, or even if we have developed hypertension, things that we can do to stop us from developing health threats from hypertension. And as I just mentioned, health threats, can you share those with us? I know that CARFA says it's the #1 risk factor for illness and premature death from cardiovascular disease, but can you go into it just a little bit more and tell us what are some of these negative health threats from hypertension?
Sure. So one of the things you'll commonly hear about hypertension is that it's the silent killer. Often persons will have elevated blood pressures and will not have any symptoms at all. However, what I want to emphasize more so than the fact that it can lead to premature death is that having uncontrolled blood pressure, uncontrolled hypertension can lead to heart disease. As you mentioned, it's one of the leading causes of death. So you can be at increased risk for heart attacks or heart failure. It also affects other organs, all the other major organs in the body, to include the brain, by increasing your risk for having strokes, and your kidneys, which are very important for the general functioning of your body and getting rid of important waste. So even if you don't die early, which is a premature death because of high blood pressure, what can happen is that you can suffer from a number of complications of having high blood pressure, and that's what we really want to avoid and limit.
So since the complications from hypertension are so absolutely serious, Screening and monitoring your blood pressure is absolutely essential, especially for persons who are at high risk of developing hypertension. And today, Dr. Skerritt, she's going to walk us through how simple and easy it is to take your blood pressure. And the reason I want to do this is because I know there is a phenomenon called white coat syndrome, where simply at hearing the thought of I'm going to have my blood pressure taken, a patient's blood pressure automatically rises. So I'm hoping today showing how simple and easy it is can allay some of those fears and help us to have better blood pressure readings when we go to do a screening.
So this is a electronic blood pressure machine that you can buy. Most persons can get it at a pharmacy, or if you have an online account and you can get it online, you can get it from Amazon or any of those department stores. And it basically consists of 3 elements: the monitor itself, the blood pressure cuff, and this tubing which connects it. So we're gonna slide it on. It's usually adjustable, and so you have the option to. You usually have a mark here that outlines that they should align with the artery, so we try to align it on the inner side of the arm, and we tighten. Usually we try to leave at least a finger or 2 finger spaces underneath the cuff, and we snap the Velcro on. This monitor has a button here for on, and that's what you're gonna press. Now, before you check your blood pressure, what should you do? We usually advise that for at least 5 minutes before you sit down, you relax, your feet should be uncrossed and placed flat on the floor, and your elbow should be at the level of your heart. And then we press the on button. We encourage you not to speak during the test, and you just wait the period of time. Wonderful. Now, at the end of the reading of the blood pressure, so you'd have noted during the time it was compressing, you felt a squeezing sensation, right? And then it relaxes over time. Here you have 3 numbers. The first 2 numbers represent the blood pressure. So 116 is what we call the systolic pressure. It basically measured the pressure flowing through the arteries when your heart is beating. And then the bottom number, your diastolic, represents the pressure through the arteries when it's between beats. So 116 over 78 is quite normal, very good, Penny. And the last number gives you an idea of what your pulse rate is, or how your heartbeat, that's what the pulse represents. So yeah, that's how you check your blood pressure, nice and simple.
Yes, simple and easy and pain-free.
Thank you.
So you've seen how absolutely easy it is to have your blood pressure reading done. And this can be done in a clinical setting, or it may be offered at health awareness events like health fairs, or it can even be done at home. My last question for Dr. Skerritt though is, if I have my blood pressure reading done and it's high, what do I do next?
Okay, Penny. So we recommend several things. If this was the first time you had your blood pressure checked, you can have it rechecked. You have the option of going to a private doctor or to one of our doctors in the health center and having it checked by a nurse. And if then you've been diagnosed because your blood pressure has been elevated on 2 separate occasions, then the decision can be, or the discussion can be had between you and your healthcare professional about starting medications that will help to improve your blood pressure and reduce your risk. Other than medications that help to reduce blood pressure, we encourage you to modify your risk. So we spoke a little bit earlier about things that you can do to improve your blood pressure, like becoming more active, getting some exercise, and adjusting your diet. Both these factors help to reduce overall weight, and so are a major way of improving your blood pressure. But we encourage you to reduce the salt in your diet, to reduce the fatty foods, and if there are any other illnesses that you're diagnosed with, to keep those under control for overall, well-being. We also want to encourage you to invest in your own blood pressure machine. So we would have discussed before the fact that having high blood pressure means that the top number is higher than 140 and the bottom number is higher than 90. When you have your own machine, you're able to do checks and keep track, and you can keep a diary where you can record your daily blood pressures and have an idea of how your body is responding to the exercise you do, how your body is responding to the medications you're on. And then we are better able to assist in controlling your blood pressure.
Thank you, Dr. Skerritt, and thank you to our viewers. This has been On Call with the Doctor, and I know for certain that I am better equipped to decrease my risk of developing hypertension, and I hope you are too. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.
Take care.
This is On Call with the Doctor, brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Social Services in Montserrat. Tune in and follow us on Facebook at Health Promotion 664 for more. Don't forget to share with friends and family. On Call with the Doctor, helping us to take charge of our health and wellness.